Hello. Firstly, I want to say I am slightly scared and also a little bit thrilled that people are actually watching these videos because it was all meant to be a bit of a personal journey, documentation into the world of jazz and how I was going to learn from scratch. But actually, if it's helping people, then I am pleased, or if people are interested, I'm also pleased, but a little bit trepidatious because I wasn't expecting some of these videos to get as many views as they did, which, by YouTube standards is not many. So I have to go to bed pretty soon because I'm singing in the morning. But I thought I'd just kind of talk about a couple more things I've been thinking about and I haven't practiced yet. So I'm not going to be very good at demonstrating, but it's just running through my head. So where I was before. First is a little warm-up routine I'm trying to develop for this jazz stuff for the time being. So the first one is the obvious that everyone learns. The first thing they do, this 2-5-1 in just like sevens. So I do that in every key basically. It still takes me a while to figure it out, and then I do it in every key in the inversion, rootless inversions, where this is the revelation I had where we resolve down the 7 and it turns into a 5 chord, and then you just slide everything down, and that's a 1-6 chord. That's the inversion that I've been kind of learning from a book, so I am trusting that for now as a baseline to develop. And then there's another inversion I learned, which is where you swap things around. You still take this rootless 2, but you move these 2 down here. So instead of the 3 at the bottom, it's the 7 at the bottom. It's always going to be a 3 or a 7 at the bottom for now, while I figure it out. And then you slide the 7 down, that's a 5, and move the top triad down. Is that right? I was there. No, you have to just find your C major triad. It's like the tonic, but with a B at the bottom. I know you can't see this very well. I'm going to slide this way and down. So you won't be able to see my face, which is probably fine. This inversion, so C, E, F, and A, and then you slide the 7 down. And then you play your C chord. So that's where I'm at with my practice routine. I do that in every key as well. And then I've been really trying to learn the minor ones, but I don't like how the minor ones sound. So I might scrap this at some point. So the minor is, I demonstrated this in another video. You take your supertonic, your 2, and you build, so we're in C minor. And you build your kind of half diminished chord on top, but you take the root out and you add the major 7th on top, so it's a major minor chord. Then you slide the top 2 notes down, and then you play a minor 6. So with the left hand it sounds pretty cool. So I've been doing that in every key as well, although to demonstrate that will take me a long time. That's right, isn't it? There, to there, and then to there. I'm getting faster, but it's still really slow. It takes me a long time to work that one out. So this is the thing that I kind of had a brainwave about. There are these things called altered chords that I do not understand, but I do know that, say, in C, the dominant of C, the G chord, if you play a B natural and a B flat, as in, I think that's technically a sharp 9. But for me, I think of that as both the major third and the minor third at the same time. If you do them both and you add a couple of notes in between, I've been adding an F and an E flat. That chord. That's called a G altered chord. And this kind of blew my mind a bit because it's a ready-made tritone substitution. That is your standard D flat 7 chord. And you can just go down to, or you can go, or say, and the only difference is that one has the G in the bass, so it's pulling it to the C, and one has the D flat in the bass and is then pulling it to the G flat. So that was crazy to me. That opens, I'm starting to see like the elegance of the system, because in classical music you are trapped If you get too far around the circle of fifths, it takes a very, very elegant solution to get back. In jazz, it seems to me, there is no such trap. If you end up... So I was actually thinking about this in the chord sequence I was trying to learn. If you end up too far around the circle of fifths, so you go to F minor, and then B flat 7, leads you to E flat, and then you throw in the minor chord. So this minor chord, right, is a very long way away from our original B flat major. This is the 2 of a D flat major, like so, right? But, this is the clever bit. If you turn that into a 7, that is not only an A flat 7, like you'd expect, right? Let me demonstrate again. You go to your 2, you drop the 7 down, it turns into the 5, and then you resolve to 1. You can still just drop the same 7 down, this one, but if you drop this one down as well, that's an altered D chord. There's your minor third, your major third, and those 2 weird notes. So if I was to re-invert that, it would be the chord I know, I think. Where was it? Oh man, I've lost it. Yeah, it would. It would be this one. Which is the same G chord I'm playing anyway in the song. This one, but in F. Man, it's just so... The thing is then I don't really know how to get back. So say we go from there to there. But I think that actually works pretty nicely, right? So I hope I'm explaining this well enough. I'm caught all the way at the wrong end of the circle of fifths with this A flat 7 chord, or this E flat chord. And I'm thinking, how do we elegantly get back? I just hear people play this D minor, which is obviously super cool. But there's like a pure link back, just doing the 5 to the 2 5 1, 5, 2, and then 1, and then that's 5 to 2. So sorry, 5 to 1, and that's the 2, and that's the 5, and that's the 1. So we do this kind of crazy jump across the circle of fifths, but it all theoretically still lines up. Isn't that insane? I have no idea if it's... I'm probably not explaining this anywhere near eloquently enough. But to me, that's crazy, the fact that that's built into the theory in jazz. That you can do that. That's so clever. Anyway, so just to demonstrate that whole section, let's do this properly, shall we? Can't play the bloody thing. Except I'm in the wrong... Let me get to the right inversions. Otherwise I'm gonna mess up. So, we're here. And B flat just stays there as a total link. If you want it to, anyway. Oh, I should have gone to come down. I felt a moment where I should have come down, so... there, right, and then whatever it is. So, anyway, that's where I'm at. It's super exciting. It's really interesting. I feel like it's the first time I've learned any new theory in a long time. This is like genuinely new theory to me. Anyway, so that's where I'm at with that. The other thing, and probably going to talk about this in a different video because I want to do it justice, but I'm just going to quickly talk about the other 2 or 3 things I've learned in theory, not yet in practice. So the first one is this idea, and I've got to thank a YouTuber who I can't remember, but they've got like a 10-minute video explaining these concepts, and they're great and super useful. I was about to learn all my different modes, which I'm not going to do right now. All the different modes and all the different minors and like different kind of minor scales you should play on top of chords, but I have no motivation to do that. I want to just get going with the right hand, and this seems to be a elegant way to get going with the right hand, even if it doesn't cover everything. So what you do is, there's a few different things, and I've got to remember what they are. You take your chord tones, and what you can do are these kind of enclosures, which I'm sure everyone knows about apart from me. That kind of thing. And I think you have to raise the 4th because it sounds rubbish otherwise. I've heard that before anyway, that sometimes the 4th is raised, so I feel like it's good to raise it just in that case. And that'll take you through a whole chord. In fact, it'll take you all the way through 2 chords. So that's the first thing, enclosures. So all that is you take your chord and you take your melody notes, and I'm guessing that if they're next to each other you don't need to do it, but it's a linking maneuver between different notes that are kind of fairly far apart in the chord. So if you want to get from the A to the F to the D to the B flat, you take your F, you go I think you go underneath first, because then it just feels a bit more like you are moving, you know? If you go underneath and above, and what that is, it's a semitone below the chord note and a tone above the chord note. At least the way I'm doing it is. And by the time you've done that a few times, you'll find yourself kind of out of that idea anyway. Like, you won't want to do it anymore. So the other thing is being able to move through the chord tones in a way that doesn't get you stuck. So say you want to go or something. Not that anyone would want to do that. What you do is imagine you've somehow got up here in some other way, and then I'll talk about that in a sec. And then you want to keep going up in the chord tone. What you do is just simply come down to, instead of going up to the D, like that, you just come down to the D. And you keep going up. So if you do this on each chord, probably is going to sound crap, sorry, but that's a way of staying fairly set in position and hitting all the notes that you want to hit there, apparently. So that's that. I'm going into too much detail. This is all going to be repeated probably tomorrow or Monday. But I just wanted to, for my own peace of mind, my own sake, just talk about this before I forget. Okay, so that was the next one, the idea of kind of going down the arpeggio to the next note and then continuing up. Okay, now the other thing is something called and apparently this is all due to Barry Harris, the fact that we've got all of this, so I'm going to go and watch some Barry Harris videos at some point. Take a chromatic scale. I guess you can go down as well. I'm going to go up first. Now that by itself isn't going to sound very jazzy, I think. You could probably force it to. So what I thought was really cool is just, and what it does is it keeps you in the key. You do a chromatic scale but this keeps you in the key, which is super clever. So all we think is, these are all the notes we want. And our chromatic scale is simply a linking mechanism to all of these notes. But we have to add something in between all of these notes. That's the key. Each one of these notes has to have a note in between them. This one too, at the top, B flat at the top. So how do you do that when there's only a semitone? When there's not a semitone, when there's a tone in between, tone, 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 or tone, tone, you just do the chromatic scale. And when there's a semitone, you add in a note above. And you just pretend that that's a note in the chromatic scale. Because what this will do is it'll set you off kilter as well in a cool way. So and again, you'll be ready to do something else by the end of a little progression there. And I think the other thing they mentioned, I'm just totally stealing this man's video, so I'm terribly sorry for that. I'm stealing all of his ideas. So what you can also do is jump up 2 notes, apparently. So and you can jump down, apparently, so you can go like kind of thing, and add in a chromatic note at the bottom too, and then it suddenly starts to sound a bit more jazzy. I've got to think about coming down. Right? You see? It's so clever. Oh, no, I messed up already. Right? Isn't that cool? The fact that that just works. Okay, so that's the other thing. Those chromatic scales that aren't really chromatic scales, the enclosures, this kind of doubling back on yourself kind of thing. Although that one I find a bit cheesy. But I guess if you do a little bit of both, then it starts to be pretty cool, and you can kind of add those little and it suddenly starts to all make sense. Like, oh, I recognise those sounds. I recognise all of that. I just didn't know how they were doing it. I was just playing like random jazzy notes, you know, in my mind. Anyway, so then there's a way more complicated one that's going to take me ages to get used to, which is the Barry-Harris augmented 5th or augmented or diminished 6th scale, I think it is. It's like, what's so special about that? Well, first, it's an 8-note scale, so if you try and do triads in your normal, you get caught up in some really super cool but difficult harmonies. So I've got to think carefully. You end up with way more chords, basically. If you do the 7th, can I even do this in this position? Let's do the 6th instead. We'll do all of these notes. So it's going to get kind of crazy, because normally this would just obviously be... Got to think carefully. Dum, dum. See, we've changed inversion, right? So it's pretty cool already that you get this kind of offset nature of these inversions, where suddenly it's a different note that's close, you know? And it retains that key. Isn't that clever? Because normally at this point, it's different. You've moved to a different chord. This retains the chord. It's so clever. You could do a little thing like that. Kind of like this. No, you can't. I don't know what I'm doing with that. But there. Keep going up, see what happens next. And again, you're retaining all of these. You're retaining it all. It's so clever. You end up, it's like, you end up so grounded. It's so cool. It's like a ready-made way of doing a chord progression in a key, basically. It's like a whole chord progression that works from start to finish, and it's just by following the scale. Like, what a genius move! What a genius kind of realization for anyone to find that. If you do these 7 chords, let's see how that sounds. Already so much cooler than. And we end up totally offset. This is a C6. So you go from C. You can go to like. Anyway, on we go. It's a G chord. I'm starting to recognise these things now. Then we go up again. This just takes. It's a bit mind bending. This. That's an F. No, an E. No, I don't know what that is. I mean, in classical music, that's an F9. In jazz, I don't know what that is. And then we go up again. I'll come down here. And then at some point, we've got to start pulling it all. That's an E chord, no? And this is going to be a. Like an F sharp rootless inversion in the right hand, like an altered, I think, or something. And then you keep going up. We were there. We go up to here. We just go up one more step. This one's easy, and we're back at the start. So a bit of a crap end, but you can also go. So another, just like, it's so clever and it's so elegant, all this stuff. Once you get used to the clashes, it all starts lining up in really super clever ways. So I'm finding connections now, basically, and I have a vague warm-up routine that I'm sticking to, which is voicing these things. I'm also going to start practicing those 3 things: the enclosures, those things, and the that kind of thing too. It's a bit, it's a bit more traditional sounding, isn't it? And obviously that in all keys, that's tricky, even without anything else, because the fingering is different as well. So you can go 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, which is pretty nice actually. Actually, fingering is great. It's easy. Apart from on that one. Maybe you just do that in that case. Nasty fingering on that one. So that's all the keys, the major keys. There is also a minor version of this apparently. Anyway, that's for another time. And then I'm going to start going. Try and keep them all consistent. No, I missed it. Tricky, very tricky. What that is, I'll tell you what that is. It's two scales in one. It's both the major and the relative minor in one. I think that's why it's so powerful. Basically, it's got the G and the G sharp. And very important to note that those are not mutually exclusive anymore. It can be an E chord with both. And I'm pretty sure there's some wonky G chords that could have both too. Well, maybe not. But there's definitely some wonky chords in the key of C major that could have both. You could have an F chord, probably with an F. Yeah, of course you can. Of course. An F minor chord can have both too, which will lead you off in a different direction. So it's a clever way of incorporating two sides of the same key that are normally, again, in classical music, mutually exclusive. It's like this whole circle of fifths in classical music. You are on a root. You have to be very careful with your root because there's no easy way back. And it's the same with modulations. If you're in C major and you decide to modulate, you're going to hear that instantly. And it might not be a massive journey to get back, but your ear will recognize that you've gone somewhere, you've gone back. There is no such distinction here, I think, in the same way. So you're kind of going to C, to A, to C, to A, to C, to A. Every time you hear that G sharp, it pulls you in some direction to A minor. But the A minor chord also often has the C major chord. Anyway, to me it feels more like A minor in traditional terms than it does C major. And again, you're going to hear this in classical music too, but just as ornamentation in the right hand. Where, say, you've just gone somewhere and you want to resolve, it's as simple as that. It's just a passing note, a chromatic passing note. Right, that's probably enough rambling, coming up to half an hour. So I have no idea. Again, if you've watched the whole way, that's awesome. Thank you. But, I'm not sure if anyone's actually going to find these interesting or enjoyable, but I enjoy making it and I'm enjoying learning about this whole genre. So that's why I'm going to keep going. Right. See you later.